Clair Obscur Expedition 33 has the rarest kind of video game story. One that actually sticks with you. Plenty of stories in this medium succeed in being feel-good and inspirational. Plenty more are satisfyingly edgy and dark. But I can count on one finger the amount of video game stories that match Clair's level of poignance, beauty, and truly inexhaustible depth. You could talk forever about this story. Its world is so fleshed out, its characters are so three-dimensional, its themes are so pressing and human that you'll never tire of digging into them. For that very reason, though, this is also a game in which you accomplish the least by talking about it. You can never get to the bottom of this story. You can't summarize it down to a single message or idea. You can only really experience it. I realize saying that makes this video kind of superfluous. No single person could do justice to this game. All the essays I've seen on it say largely the same thing. I'm hoping I can at least shed a light on some of the reasons I, and so many others, completely fell in love with Sandfall Interactive's debut masterpiece. The thing that Clair Obscur nails right from its opening scene onward is simple narrative competence. So many stories in this industry feel like they were written by students in a 10th grade creative writing class. There can be cool ideas here and there, but there is also so much clunkiness and execution that ends up ruining the experience. Either that, or the story plays it so safe and by the numbers that you stop caring about it halfway through the opening cutscene. The writer for Clair Obscur, who I'll note hadn't penned a single published story before this game came out, actually has the talent and competence to keep the audience engaged. You're seeing on your screen right now some of the benchmark qualities for good storytelling that Clair Obscur perfectly executes on. That competence allows the story to develop a real narrative identity. The game is unapologetically artsy and poetic. It wears its twin French and JRPG influences proudly on its sleeves. In the face of so many games nowadays trying to mimic Marvel's characteristic mocking tone and sarcasm, Clair's story is thoroughly sincere in its display of sorrow and grief. But said sincerity doesn't prevent the story from also displaying levity. I couldn't agree less with the claim that Clair Obscur's story is melodramatic. I think it has some of the warmest moments in a video game since The Last of Us.
Oh please, you're an old man. I can outrun you any day.
Yeah, right.
And Jennifer Svedberg nailed both the heavy and jovial scenes for one and the same reason. She actually understands human beings. So many video game characters just regurgitate out whatever the plot needs them to say. There is so rarely any attention by the writers to any interior life they have. All that they are is contained by the words they say. But Svedberg's writing is jammed packed with the subtle intricacies of real human interactions. Her characters interrupt each other and stutter through difficult sentences. They talk around hard topics, contradict themselves, and keep vulnerable truths and motivations close to their chest. They're paradoxical. They find reason to laugh in somber moments and express sorrow during should-be happy moments. And sometimes, they have nothing to say. Of all the inventive ways Clair Obscur frames its narrative, silence is perhaps its strongest tool. Show don't tell is another writing rule that this story observes religiously. As well acted and written as the dialogue is, the script is at its most powerful when neither are being used. Long contemplative stares, subtle gestures, and visual framing are used masterfully. The best cutscene in the game is essentially a silent movie. And with how much the writing emphasizes silence, it ends up making what lines there are stick with the player even more.
For those who come after. Right?
Now, all of what I've just said obviously isn't meant to indicate that this is a formulaic story. Clair Obscur is so conscious of the rules behind proper storytelling, not just to follow them, but to know when to effectively break them. It has some of the gutsiest subversions I have ever seen in a video game. And Gustav's death is a strong example of that. He's the character we originally got invested in. The character the plot, until now, has been revolving around. The character most players probably refused to take out of their party. But, shocking as it is in the moment, it is characteristic of this death-ridden world that we've been introduced to. The prologue already established how callously lives will be taken away in this story. His death is just a more dramatic twist on that rule. And right after he dies, when Verso is introduced and Act 2 properly begins, things start to move along in a beat very reminiscent of a traditional JRPG storytelling. Act 2 is the closest this narrative ever gets to a familiar structure. The steps the team needs to take to defeat the Paintress are clearly laid out. The mysteries behind this world begin to unravel with Verso as our guide, and each character's arcs get properly underway. It's all thoroughly engaging stuff, but recognizable of a structure as it is, something still feels off about it in this case. There's just too many things left unsaid. For every question Verso answers, he leaves 2 unanswered. The 2 axons are evocatively depicted, but we don't ever get a real strong sense of who they are. And then the team sets out to have their final confrontation with the Paintress, well before any of their arcs feel fully revolved. They defeat her without understanding her true identity. And most glaringly, all of this occurs without the player once seeing an Act 3 title card. Things are supposed to feel cathartic as the team marches triumphantly through the Pier of Lumiere, but there's enough left unresolved to create an odd sense of eeriness. Plot-wise, this should be the end of the story, but thematically and tonally, it couldn't feel farther from that point. And of course, it isn't. Did anyone else feel like Gustav's death was 100 hours in the past by the time they woke up as Alicia? This may be the boldest plot twist I have ever seen in any story, period. It's not like it's an incredibly original one. It really is just a tweaked version of the Matrix's story. But it's the extent to which it completely recontextualizes the entire game. The first 25 hours of this story are all spent getting the player invested in this world. Everything that happens in the game's last 5 hours serves to bring them out of it. The writing gets away with this twist by connecting it to all the player's lingering unanswered questions. Almost none of the information the player knew is discredited by this twist, but it does finally answer questions regarding the Paintress, the Gamage, and Mael's importance. The twist is also tightly connected with the themes of grief and death that the story has thus far been playing with. Still, it does massively reframe how these themes are explored. Death and grief in Lumiere are pressing issues, but they're often discussed in very abstract and philosophic ways. The Gamage is a political reality Lumiereans must navigate. Renoir and Verso spend almost all of their scenes together arguing about it philosophically. With the Gamage's source revealed, however, the political ends up submerged under the personal, and the philosophical under the psychological. There's few depictions of grief quite as striking or human than the fantastical image of a grieving mother retreating into her dead child's artwork to remain connected with him. Claire's third act carries so much emotional weight because of that concreteness, because of the visceral yet intimate ways it displays these experiences. But the takeaways one can draw from this depiction isn't just relegated to those suffering or grieving greatly. As far as I can see it, Claire's third act is relevant for every single person playing through it. There's a lot Clair Obscur has to say about the relationship between beauty and grief. From the ways the people of Lumiere decorate their city with flowers, celebrations, and festivities in preparation for the Gamage, to the ways the dazzling beauty of the continent either keeps the expeditioners moving forward or halts them in their track, to the myriad ways the story's characters find solace in transmitting their grief into art. Aline, of course, is the ultimate example of this motif. Verso's canvas was supposed to be a relief for her. It was supposed to give her solace. Though she didn't intend it to happen, Alicia also finds similar solace in being reborn into the canvas. In every one of these cases, beauty is used as a relief from pain. It gives characters a moment of respite from their sorrows and even gives them the opportunity to turn it into something positive. But beauty is also a dangerous force in this story. It's just as likely to lock its characters in denial as it is to give them respite. Once again, Aline is the ultimate example of this. She'd rather recreate her family in her own idealized image than confront the trauma present in the real one. Of course, that doesn't work for her, but she's defeated in Act 2. All the drama in Act 3 is concerned with her daughter. Once Alicia gets her memories back, once she remembers the contrast between what she has in the canvas and what she has in the real world, everything hinges on what life she'll choose to embrace. And this is a pressing conflict not only for her, but also for the player. All of the amazing dialogue and character moments have worked to get us as attached to this world as she is, to sympathize completely with her desire to live in it, to disregard the knowledge of what that life would lead to. We don't sympathize with Renoir or Verso. We can understand their position. We may even agree with them on an intellectual level. But all of our experience throughout the game has oriented us with Maëlle. This all culminates in the hardest narrative choice I have ever been asked to make in a video game. What's so brilliant about this choice is that it isn't primarily moral. One can always feel pride in choosing between different types of government or honor codes. But no one can feel good about either of these choices. It also isn't an absolute question. Mael is as insistent that she won't become her mother as Verso is that she doesn't have to give up painting entirely. At its core, it's really a prudential question. Do we think that Verso's canvas will help Mael flourish? Do we believe that she'll use it as a way to help her grieve, or as a way to avoid grieving altogether? Now, I want to be clear here that both of this game's endings are very open-ended. There are a lot of interpretations one can have for them, and I don't claim to own the only one. But it's at least clear to me that, as far as those questions go, the only responsible answer one can give is no. The canvas will not help her. Listen to Mael's motivations as she argues with Verso.
This is not worth your life.
Life. My life of loneliness in a shell of a body, with no voice and no future.
This is an incredibly sympathetic motivation, conveyed beautifully by Jennifer English's performance. But, objectively thinking, is it really a right-minded one? Do we really think that it's right for Mael to throw away her real family and real responsibilities just because they're broken? Does that strike us as a responsible way to approach tragedy? Does it not parallel Aline's motivations perfectly? But, alright, what about the people of Lumiere? They are a very relevant part of this equation, as Verso's ending would keep them unpainted. Still, Mael's emotional instability remains just as much a problem for them as it is for her. There is a lot to be said about the Desandre family playing God by creating sentient life in their canvases. But Mael recreating Lumiere to her own grief-stricken liking isn't breaking off from that habit. Is she really fighting selflessly for the people of Lumiere? Or is she using them to get what she wants? A casual glance at her own ending makes it painfully clear what she's fighting for. Once Mael has carved out all the sorrow natural to Lumiere, once she has robbed these characters of all the tragedy that has shaped them, once she begins to obstruct their own freedom, can we really say that we're even talking about the same place that this game started in? And how much time is she even buying for them? Once she dies, this world dies too. And she is clearly very far along into chroma sickness by the time of her ending cutscene. Just ask yourself, is it really in the best interest of this pocket universe that it essentially have an emotionally traumatized 16-year-old as its god? Is it in said 16-year-old's own best interest that she be able to play God? None of this is to say that Mael is evil. Her motivations are selfish, but they're also deeply human. It is a gut-wrenching choice to make to deny her the life and friendships and meaning she has found in Verso's painting. I have never struggled so much in a game to press down a single button, knowing that that input would end up taking Mael from this world she has grown to love, knowing that it would return her to a broken body with a broken family, with no voice and no future. But really, what other option is there?
Life keeps forcing cruel choices.
Life. Clair Obscur's story is about life. It's not about this fantasy or that hyper-dramatic tragedy. It's about every one of us. Not many of us will face tragedies as severe as Aline and Alicia went through. None of us, hopefully, we'll end up spending half of our life inside a simulation. But all of us have bad days, and all of us have ways of escaping from the real world when those bad days come, whether it's art, entertainment, or even just our imagination. And Clair Obscur is by no means a flat condemnation of every kind of escapism. Verso tells Alicia that
You're my Elle, no matter where you are.
his last words to her are spent imploring her to continue painting. The entire game is replete with scenes showing the power of art to relieve and transform suffering. And the last moments of Verso's ending suggests that his canvas is helping Alicia do just that. But we have to draw the line somewhere. Will we choose to let these things enhance her life, or use them as an avenue for escaping it? Will they change the way we see the world, or bring us out of it altogether? Will we use them as a means, or as an end? The choice is yours.
Alors tranchons la trame, découle la sinistre esquisse. Sors et fuis, je